Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for hanging there. It's been a long day, right? So just bear with me for about 30 minutes and we'll move on from here. Okay, so I'm here to share with you how do we help our children navigate post-pandemic changes. Essentially, the skills that we are talking about today is really for teachers, parents, and caregivers. Right, okay, so here's the presentation scope for today. Right, I'm covering two aspects. Wait, hold on. Okay, so I'm covering this in two aspects, learning motivation as well as psychosocial development. And then I'll move on to share with you the skills, very briefly, that our children and teenagers need. And then the practical strategies on how our teachers and parents can actually adopt to teach these new skills to our students. Right, so the references that you're seeing here are actually from the students that we see at Restart Counseling for Wellness. Right, so moving on to the first aspect, learning motivation. Okay, so this is the famous iceberg that most of us probably already know by now. Right, so this iceberg is actually very useful to help us explain certain aspects of a child's thoughts and feelings, right? So what we normally see is only the tip of the iceberg, right? And in our terms, we call that the presenting issues. But what we are really interested to know is actually what's going under, the underlying issues. If we know the underlying issues, that's where we can come in effectively to help them. It's like targeting at the root cause, right? There's no point in implementing tons of strategies without knowing what's actually affecting the child. So we do need to get to the underlying issues. Right, so in terms of how the pandemic has actually affected learning motivation, these are the 5 commonly recurring things that we see. Right, so decline focus, decline learning interest, increased stress and anxiety, poorer academic performances, and also school refusal is becoming more and more frequent, especially in the recent 1-2 years, as we have observed. So actually, what's happening? Underlying reasons, changes in learning environment. With the introduction of technology, now with pandemic, it brings forward introduction of technology in our learning. Although it's always there, but it's more frequently occurring at the tertiary level. With pandemic, actually it brings forward exposure to technology especially for our primary school and secondary school students. And not only that, the learning environment has actually changed. They used to only need to stay in school to learn. They can't go anywhere else. And they have nowhere to run to, nothing else to do except to try to listen to the teachers. But with the pandemic, we all move on to online learning. Self-directed learning, right? Unfortunately, there's just too many distractions in their own learning environment. The bed is nearby, the TV is just there, right? They can be on the screen, they can be on the Zoom with teachers, but I think we all know, right? There's multiple applications that's really open on their laptop. So they can, I'm not surprised to find that my students tell me that they were just on the Zoom. It's either pointing at the ceiling or it's a black screen. You don't know where they are. So even my own daughter, sometimes, when she's so tired, she was just on the screen and she go back to sleep. Then I will come in and ask, what are you doing? So there's just too many distractions. The bed is just one thing. And then you have screaming children at home, your siblings fighting with you over other things. So it's just too distracting to even focus. Right, so the next one is learning expectations. There's a change. Now, students are also looking for flexibility and self-empowerment. With the pandemic, they come to realize, hey, actually, I can learn the content, I can learn what I want at any time. Why must it be a dedicated classroom timing? Why must it be the dedicated home-based learning timing? I want to do it as and when I want it. So we do face increasing feedback from both teachers and parents that they are not doing their work. When I tell them to, because it's a home-based learning timing now, they're not doing it, right? So then the kids I work with will tell me, why should I? Right? I mean, I'm done with my gaming, I'm done going with my friends, when I'm done relaxing, I'll come back to it. So they say, at the end of the day, I learn what I need to learn, right? So why must it be now? So they need this flexibility, and they want to be empowered to make this difference. And engagement. Engagement comes in a context that in the recent maybe 5, 6, 7 years, or maybe even the past decade, increasingly our students are very engaged in gaming, online gaming, where they can chit-chat with friends. And even the game itself is designed to be very interactive and engaging. Can you imagine you compare it to learning, our academic learning? If it's classroom, it is one way. If it's online, we have seen changes along the years, trying to make it as interactive as possible. But there's one key difference, the gratification. In online gaming, the gratification is almost immediate. So students like that. But in online learning, we haven't seen that yet. But we are getting there. Okay, learning challenges. This is especially so for students who are slower progress learners. Right, they don't know what they don't know. Even if they know what they don't know, they do not know how to reach out. Some are shy. Even if they reach out, if you try to explain them online, they may not get it. Right, so there's a series of challenges that they face, which is more helpful if there's face-to-face guidance with them. So when the learning gaps snowballed to become too huge, students actually lost the motivation to even want to try to get to it. So that's why, the presenting issues that I shared earlier, there's a decline in learning interest over time. Right, so the combination of these three aspects actually results a change in the perspective and attitude towards learning. Now here I want to share with you one case study. Just to caveat that the cases I'm sharing here are with parental and client consent before I share them here. Okay, 11-year-old male, P5 in Singapore, presenting issues when he comes to see me. Declined learning efforts, very poor quality of work submitted, not interested in projects, lack of focus during classroom learning. Most of the time he says he's on the table, or he's just doing this, or he's looking elsewhere, but he's not learning. Very severe gaming addiction, defiance to both teachers as well as to parents at home, anger issues. Right, so what's actually happening? So in the home learning environment, distracting, the computer especially, the gaming laptop is there, the iPad is there, the phone is there. The phone is constantly on and always with notification. Every 1 second, the notification coming in. We all know, right, teachers, that they are spamming the group chats. We tried so hard to clamp it down, but they form another group chat. So every 1 second, there will be spams coming in. It's all nonsense. But it distracts them. All right. Of course, for this student, also change in learning perspective. To him, learning is so difficult, so boring. I'd rather go to gaming. It's so fun. Usual response that he tells teachers and tell parents, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do. Even if you tell him how to do it, I don't know. I really don't know. Don't tell me what I don't know. I just don't know. Learning gaps. So, as expected, learning gaps snowballed. Right, so he's also lacking in helpful skills, self-control. He can't stay on task. If parents can successfully get him off the computer, it will just be for 10 minutes at most. Then he's back to his gaming. Right, time management, of course. So to the child, usual response. I will adopt a fight and flight response. Fight response. He will escalate to get what he wants. Meaning to say his gaming laptop. Right, his Wi-Fi access. Parents have tried. Cancel out the Wi-Fi. Don't let him go gaming. No, don't let him watch the YouTube. Don't let him watch the TikTok. He escalates. And when he escalates enough, severe enough, he gets what he wants. Okay, and Flight response, run away, no, he doesn't learn. It's just too hard. I'll just game, right? So flight response. Okay, so this is one aspect of the learning motivation that has been affected through this case study. So now I move on to the psychosocial development challenges that our students are facing. Okay, so what we commonly see presenting issues: social anxiety and stress, frustration, anger, as mentioned earlier, panic attacks. I'm sure teachers, you have seen students breaking down in school. Attacks, some severe cases, they even collapse, faint. Isolation, self-isolation, you will see them in corners of the school where there's not many people around. School refusal. Severe case, self-harming, suicide ideation. Right, so what's going under? Sense of insecurity. With the pandemic, it actually offers very little face-to-face interactions for our students to learn to bond and to build trusting relationships with teachers, peers. Right, whether is it classmates, schoolmates, or CCA mates, there's very little opportunities. In the past, right, I don't know, for teachers around my age, 40 plus, we enjoy our CCA the most. But during the pandemic, actually CCA activities has actually cut down. In fact, there's very little opportunities. So there's a lot of uncertainties and a lot of unfamiliarities. So this creates this sense of insecurity for our students. Lacking in helpful skills, in fact, they have no chance to develop this, whether it's social, communication, problem solving, etc. Right? So all these result in consistent challenges in their environment, a lot of peer issues. And so, coupled with low self-confidence, it results in overthinking. A lot of thoughts that comes through their mind. What would they think of me? What do I do? What would they say? What are they thinking? What are they saying when they're whispering in the corner? Is it about me? A lot of overthinking, leading to anxiety and stress. Okay, so I want to state here that this impact is more significantly felt for students who are transiting to the next stage of learning. P6 to Sec 1, Sec 2 to Sec 3, right? And those from secondary school moving on to either JC or Poly. This is more significantly felt. Okay, so sharing a case study 2. 14-year-old female, Sec 2, presenting issues, fish mask syndrome. How many of you here has heard of this term? Right, I see some hands. Okay, fish mask syndrome. It is a term that don't exist before the pandemic. Basically, it refers to a state where a child just feel insecure to remove the mask, so it's always on. And because there are some masks that shape like a fish mask, like a fish mouth, so they call it the fish mask syndrome. So student here avoids having meals in school, self-isolate. She will either be in the library, hide in the toilet. When she first came to see me, throughout the recess period, she's always in the toilet in one of the cubicles. And she will not come out until she hears the bell for lessons again. Okay, anxiety, severe anxiety. Case study 3, 15-year-old female, Sec 3. Panic attacks, even collapse multiple times in class, in school halls, where everyone is gathering just for a morning talk. And when students get too rowdy, she will faint. Withdrawal from peers, try as much as possible not to interact. At most, it's only that project group, 4 or 5 of the girls. Right? Self-harming, repeated cutting on her wrist, the inner thighs, some on the belly. School refusal. So eventually, by the time she comes to see me, she's not attending school anymore. Okay, so what happened again? As mentioned earlier, limited in-person social interactions, very low self-confidence, highly insecure, arising from the unfamiliar environment she was in. So she didn't have the opportunity to build trusting bonds with anyone around her, lots of overthinking. She always asked me, Can I just don't go? Because I seriously don't know. When I walk in, when they look at me, are they talking about me? No, are they criticizing how I look? No, are they thinking of that how inconfident I am? So there's a lot of unhelpful thoughts going on. What if they laugh at me when I take out my mask? No, so I'd rather not eat. So there's a lot of unhelpful social media too, right? We have seen so many TikTok videos out there, haven't we? Right, where they make fun of the before and after the mask. Well, the mask is taken off. So these images will be playing consistently in her head, increasing the anxiety, right? And of course, she's also lacking helpful skills, social communication, emotion, self-regulation, right? So as anxiety builds up, she doesn't know how to dissipate them. So it comes to a stage where she cannot cope with it anymore. Either the body collapses, or if she's still conscious, self-harming, right? So she cuts to release that stress from her. And then fight response. For her, this is flight response. So she chooses to hide behind the mask if she can and isolate herself. Okay, so putting in perspective, this pretty up sums up this iceberg about the presenting issues and the underlying reasons. So here now we move on to the skills our children and teenagers need. There are many literature, many articles that already talk about this. Right? The handbook that we have today is actually, I was looking through them, it's actually very helpful. It offers a quick guide. So if you find it helpful, do refer to them. My focus today is really not to teach you these skills, right? That will take quite a few days to run through them, and it's going to bore you. But here, I'm here to address, right, why is it that when teachers or parents try to teach our children these skills, they don't want to learn, right? And after sharing with them, how come it doesn't work? So actually, what went wrong? And so this brings us to the last part of the presentation, practical strategies that teachers and parents can use to teach these skills. First, let's understand what is the challenges in our kids trying to learn these skills. Prefrontal cortex. Most of us probably would know. The prefrontal cortex, it actually controls the logical reasoning, problem solving, comprehension, impulsive control, creativity, and perseverance in a person. Right, so in children, it's not fully developed. In fact, for girls, based on research, it's only fully developed between 18 to 20 years old. For boys, up to 23 years old, slower. That's why you often see boys more impulsive, seems to be less manageable, often getting into trouble. And we have to keep telling our children over and over again, the same thing, repeat again. And they just don't seem to remember, although they may understand, right? So it's challenging, especially for young children, because it's really less developed. So we do need a lot of time and patience. Now, in order to first help to teach these skills to our kids, there must be two enabling conditions. First one, a trusting relationships. As mentioned by our speakers earlier, they are all very similar. It's about building this trust in the relationship. Ask ourselves, how many times have you actually tried something new, work harder, change your behavior because of a stranger? I see head shaking. No, don't have, right? But we do find ourselves wanting to change, attempting to change for people that we love, people who believe in us, right? People who trust us, right? So a trusting relationship is important, right? And the second condition, effective communication. So let me just go into it in a little bit more details. So why we need a trusting relationship? As I mentioned earlier, it provides the motivation to change. Secondly, it creates a safety for mistakes to be made. A trusting relationship means that even if a child fails to adopt the skills, fails in whatever he's trying, he makes a mistake, the caregiver, the teachers, or the parent will say, it's okay, fine, it's fine, right? I can see that you're trying. Let's work harder at this. So when you create this safety, it encourages them to want to persevere, hang in there, right? It increases the receptivity of them to even want to listen to you and try, right? And they don't give up easily. So over time, as they learn these skills, they can problem solve on their own. It actually builds a self-confidence in them. They believe that I can solve this on my own. Self-efficacy, a term that most teachers are all familiar with, self-efficacy, right? And then the tendency is they will repeat these desired behaviors. So now we come to the strategy part. How do we build trusting relationships? In Restart, we use this strategy called GA. Ha, 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 happy, right? So with the G in front, GA. G, what does it stand for? Goals, right? The goal here is to build trust with the student or the child we are working with, to build trust with the parent, with the teacher. H, helpful mental model. And this helpful mental model we are talking about is belief, right? From teachers, from parents, you will need to adopt this belief that I believe my child or my student is willing to give this a try. I believe that actually my student wants to attend school. I believe that my child actually wants to learn. But there's just many other reasons. So the belief must be there. I don't know whether you have spoken to parents, some parents before. No? The frequent things that they say is, oh, my child is so, is just hopeless, right? He cannot learn on his own, right? He doesn't listen. All he knows is play, 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 right? Or he sleeps, right? So can you imagine if the parent says this in front of the child to you, or even to me, what's the effect it has on the child? Oh, okay, so since you don't believe in me, forget it. I'm not even going to try. Don't bother telling me any strategies or skills I need to learn. I'm not going to listen. Right? So adopting this helpful mental model is very important. And eventually, we also want to build the child to believe in the teachers, in the counselor, in the parents that we are there really to help them out of love, out of care and concern for them. So the approach that we adopt, A, right, the approach, it has to be empathetic, understanding, encouraging, and guiding. Why do I highlight in red? Do not take over. Right? Because when we take over, we jump in straight away, we deprive our child from learning the skills, from having the opportunities to fail, to make mistakes, and to learn how to problem solve on their own. Right? And so we limit their chance to build their own self-confidence, their resilience. Right? So do not take over. I can understand teachers, parents out there, it's all good intention, no? We just want to help quickly, right? But take a step back, no? If you have the impulse, just hold it back for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Then instead ask, what can I do? What help do you need? Or what do you need to do? We give guiding questions. Actions, doing things they like together. So in order to have a trusting relationship, you must first have opportunities to build that bond. So do a lot of activities together. In school, we see this happening very, very frequently. There's tons of programs that's being run in school. But I do not know whether you have noticed, increasingly, the children don't seem to be interested. Maybe because we are in a direction where we are not developing programs that our students like or prefer. So therefore, they are just there for the sake of being there. They are not engaged. And when they are not engaged, actually they have no time, no possibility, to build this bond, right? Okay, even at home, right? Do ask your child, what would you prefer to do? Do it together as a family. not what the parents think the child would like or what the parents like. Okay, and then lots of two-way positive conversations. I'll come to the conversation part in a bit. Okay, case study 3. Okay, so here I want to show you how we use GAR in action. Okay, so addressing the issue of panic attack. So in the session with me, right, my goal, right, is to build trust with my student. So the mental model I have is, of course, I believe, that the child I'm working with is actually trying very hard to cope better. No one wants to be unhappy. No one wants to be stressed, frankly, right? So I believe she's trying. And I believe actually the child has the ability to self-manage and become better. Right? So with this, I find my approach different, right? It's very encouraging, very patient, very empathetic, very understanding. And so in actions, I keep the conversations very positive, right? She will share with me at every weekly sessions what she has tried, what works and what doesn't work, right? And then she will go into this cycle, where she starts to blame herself. I'm just not good. No matter what I try, I just cannot do it. So my assurance, my words are very important. So I told her, it's okay. You will actually getting better. Tell me what has gotten better for you. So we go into the specifics. So as the child talks, she realizes that, hey, actually I did improve a little bit. Right? So we focus on small success. Then we do a step up over time. And then I also assure her, I'm here with you. Right? Keep trying. Right? And I also got parents involved, how to calm her down when she's having a panic attacks. And then the parents do it together with her when she's in those episodes. So helping our child to learn skill. The second enabling conditions, effective communication. Again, before we can communicate effectively, we need to have some enabling conditions. Talk less, listen more, right? It is a very common trap that teachers and parents all fall into. We talk and talk, sharing what we know, what the kids should actually do, but we don't listen what they really have to say, how they really feel. Acknowledge, normalize, empathize. Okay? Example of how you acknowledge. You need to acknowledge their feelings, acknowledge their thoughts, acknowledge their complaints, acknowledge what makes them happy, right? So this is one example. I like to use this word, I can relate. Why relate? Because if you use I can understand, the students may probably throw it back at you. No, you don't understand. You're not in my shoes. How could you possibly understand? So understand is not a good word. Instead, use I can relate, right? I can relate how you feel, how anxious you are, when you have to go for recess, and have to take care of a mask to eat. You acknowledge that it's difficult for the child, right? And you want to normalize it for her, right? For him too, right? I recall a similar situation when I was in the same state as you. So I can relate to how anxious you were, right? Hey, you're not alone, right? You're not alone in this, right? There are many people, whether it's adults or students out there, who face the same similar situation as you, right? If you have a genuine example on your own, you can also share that, right? So you normalize it. So it's not so bad for the child. So don't assume, always clarify. Again, a very common trap that we all like to fall into. The moment we see something goes wrong, for example, that day, just a few days ago, the child was sharing with me, she has been working hard on her revision for the past 1 hour. The moment her mom steps in, she happens to just take out her phone for 5 minutes to screen through, what messages have been coming, because she put it on silent, right? And then the mom just shout, why have you on the phone the whole day? How come you didn't study? All the skills that teach you, did you follow a timetable? How come you didn't follow a timetable? So the girl just switch off, and that's it. So always clarify, don't assume, right? Find out what's actually happening. If you see your child feeling sad, right, and she starts sharing or he starts sharing, listen to the end, right? Hold back your judgment, right? And then you ask, right, I wonder when you say this, what do you mean? I wonder, very, very powerful word to use. Help me understand, right? And if they got into trouble, before you jump in to try to help, maybe you want to ask first, do you need my help? And if so, how can I help? Are you saying this or are you saying that, right? And then we come to the last part, okay? Using SSE to communicate, teach skills, discuss options, resolve disagreements. So what's SSE? SSE is actually the in-house developed strategy by Restart. Okay, let me run through them with you. The first S, state. State what you observe, right? What you observe includes see, hear, experience. I'll get to the illustration in a while. Share how this problem that you observe or what you see, how what you observe actually makes you feel, not your child, yourself, right? And then lastly, E has two parts of it. Explain why you feel this way or why you think this way and what's the expectations you have for the student or for the child. Okay, illustration. So case study 1, okay, dealing with anger issues, right? So I use SSE a lot with my clients, right? So when you state, right, so it can go something like this, no? Oh, I can see that it upsets you whenever your parents remind you to stop gaming, no, and to do your homework. You will actually go into these explosive tantrums, hurting yourself and damaging things around you, throwing things around, damaging the keyboard, you're breaking up the pencils, right? So I want to share, how this behavior of his has an impact on others, right? So it worries me and also your parents to see you going through this, hurting yourself in the process. So I explain why. Why does it worry us? Simply because we care about you and we don't want to see you hurting yourself. So what's our expectations? I will tell the child, we have to learn, right, how to regulate our emotions when we're upset. It's okay to be upset, right? All of us has a right to it, right? But how do we regulate it in a helpful way, right? So let's explore ideas together. Find out one that works for you. Okay, second illustration, addressing the issue of choosing to avoid having meals in school. State, I can see that you rather starve than to take out your mask to eat. Share how this makes you feel. It worries me, your teachers, and your parents. To see you going through this is difficult. Explain, again, because we care about you, and we are concerned that if you repeatedly starve yourself, right, how this is going to affect your health and actually your moods too. When you're hungry, we tend to get more irritated easily, right? And expectations, so again, let's explore ideas together, how we can make this easier for you. Okay, so second last slide. I want to encourage you to try it, right? Based on the feedback that we have received over the years, it is very effective if you use it in the right way with the right enabling conditions. Right, so here just to give an update on the cases that I've shared. So for case 1, it's already completed, right? The child is now actually in more control of his emotions. He's able to manage his time better between school, work, and play. Case 2 is ongoing, but the improvement we see is that the child now is able to have meals, at least with the close peers during recess. And case 3, monitoring, almost at the tail end already. She has been attending school very regularly, right? More confident and interacting very well with her small group of peers. So small success is fine, right? And then she hasn't had a panic attacks in the past 9 months. So that's good progress. Okay, and conclusion. So we are all specialists in our own fields, teachers, right, counselors, ADs, We are all specialists in our own fields. So let's continue to work together, to help our children, to learn the skills they need to navigate their challenges confidently, right? So eventually we want them to grow up to become happy, healthy, and resilient individuals. So thank you.